What's up, YouTube? This is Naxxion back with another video, and today I'm going with my first place Eldlich top for my locals. The prize that I got for it was a nice Fool Wolves from Rage of the Abyss, so this was a heck of a locals to win. Before I do go into the profile, I do want to say, even though that this deck did top, it's still an uphill battle. No matter how you want to look at it, this deck can still do some amazing things, but it's definitely getting a little power crept, but the new support helps quite a bit. I can't wait for the Alliance Insight stuff, and I'm hoping that the May set has some more really strong generic stuff to help Eldlich keep going forward. But without further ado, after weeks of testing, I finally have something that I can put down and some observations that I learned today from playing. 3 copies of Eldlich, the Golden Lord. You could drop this down to 2 currently, but with the build I have, it's very Eldlich based because I really want to see the engine, as I still think the engine is great, and it's pretty much that for Eldlich. 3 copies of Inspector Border. For a while, I was really considering side decking this because this is not great going second, but it's phenomenal going first. And Inspector Border just wins games. It cheeses. That's what Eldlich is. It cheeses games, and there's no question about it. There's really no skill that goes into it. But first, putting it in and just ensures that if you do win the dice roll, going first is there. And also, you could just go in the Typhon with this. So it's something. If another card was not limited to 1, I would actually cut this down. But that's it for the monsters of the deck. For the spells, I played 1 Reasoning. I saw an OCG list playing this, and I thought to myself, this is actually really genius for this deck. Not only could you go into an Inspector Border or into an Eldlich, but you dump quite a few cards from the deck. It's still a gamble because you can get rid of a lot of resources and it'll wait a while. It's a gamble. I'm not gonna lie. This is a really, really risky card, but this is also a really just great way to actually see your deck go live. And if you have a way to get Exalted in Alliance Insight, you're chilling because now you have a way to just grind out the resources. It's not the most crazy card. Even though, yes, potentially sending 10 cards to the grave to get a Floodgate is broken, it can still lose to Imperm. So, and this could also get ashed, which it did. It didn't do much for me this week, but it's been really good. 1 Pot of Prosperity. Just gotta say it, the new all art for the Eldlich cards doesn't make any sense. I was playing Extrav. I really don't like playing it. Even though it's really nice consistency, this is just great being able to choose what you don't need, which you have a lot of fluff. There's just too many important cards that you potentially need. Of course, 3 of the field spell and 1 terraforming. The entire reason why I decided to even re-pick up the deck after years of not playing it. This card does so much for the deck, and it's insane how much better this is about to get with Alliance Insight. Also, this is just one of the best field spells I've ever used. Now it's time for the Eldlich engine. We play 1 copy of Eldlich. It's one of, you could bump this up to 2. You just need to see your engine. And honestly, going second, this is actually not a bad idea if you wanted to bump this up to another, especially if you wanted to cut an Eldlich. By all means, go for it. 1 served pretty well for me today, though. Card that I most likely will bump up to 3 once I get my Secret Slayer's rarity. Cursed Eldin. The card is great, especially with the field spell. Again, mentioning Post-Alliance Insight. This is the best opening plus field spell that you can get that gives you up to 6 cards on the board. So it's really nice. 3 Elixir of Scarlet Sanguine. Always, I don't see any reason why this card won't ever be played for any Eldlich variation unless you're just playing the Golden Lore. 3 copies of Conquistador and 2 copies of Akira. classic, iconic. You're not really ever going to change this ratios. I think this is a perfected amount of what you need for the engine. One Dogmatic of Punishment. So I'm not going to lie, even though I did well with the deck, I was a little unoptimized. I would play 2 because going forward this won't be really viable, but Dogmatic of Punishment did come up one game, and it helped quite a bit. So Punishment never really can go bad with the card. 2 copies of Ice Dragon's Prison. Card is insane. I went against a Blue Eyes player, and he was so salty when I Ice Dragon's Prison took his Blue Eyes when he tried to revive it after nuking his board. He was livid. Card's great. It's also really good against Malice in their late grind. Being able to interrupt and do that, or even just take a really strong boss monster, like if Fenrir's in there, and being able to get that. So yeah, Ice Dragon's Prison is just a very good card. You could easily play 3 of that. Also, the card that really shined and saved me a game was Torrential Tribute. I used this against the Blue Eyes player before, and then Ice Dragon once he tried to rebuild his board, and he lost. Straight because of these 2 cards. One Apophis. You can make this really anything. I don't like Azarun. Azarun, for me, has one particular issue, and that's it's just going to sit there and wait, versus I can use this reactionarily and prevent something from being able to resolve. I didn't get to use the effect. I was able to attempt to activate, but it got negated, which actually won me a game. It actually won me my last game. For Floodgates, 1 Skill Drain, 1 Rivalry, 1 There Can Only Be 1 Power Sink Stone, and 1 Anti. So, I'm going to be honest, I really didn't want Anti. I completely forgot that for my 40th card that it was in here, and this was actually supposed to be the second Dogmatic of Punishment. This isn't really great, this format. This is more of a side deck card, but even then I don't really care. It doesn't really affect me. I already have inbuilt ways of dealing with it. Power Sink Stone, never really used. There Can Be Only 1. I had it in my first round, but they were able to out it. Rivalry, I had it with a plant player and literally did nothing. Skill Drain, I've yet, in all the weeks I've been testing this, I've yet to actually be able to flip this up and say Skill Drain. Like, from the anime. So, none of that. You don't really need that many, although you do need Floodgates for Eldlich. That's just always what it's going to be for stun anyway. Although I like the more control aspect. That's why I could have more Floodgates, but I don't. Even though I'm sure that's probably considered a lot. 3 Solemn Strike. The Blue Eyes player, once again, was livid that I actually main decked this. So, this is most likely going to be cited in Alliance Insight once Dragon's Mind come out. Dragon's Mind is better generically, but this will also serve a purpose for Eldlich going later. As the thing about it is Dragon's Mind doesn't facilitate all the needs that this card can do. This card can do something very specific that it might come up in certain deck scenarios. So I play 3 of that, and my god, did this card come in handy. This card is so good. Also 3 Judgment. Won my last match because my opponent, even if he had an out, spell or trap-wise, which was what he was gambling on, he had no way of being able to break what I had set up. So, really strong. It's still a gamble. These cards are gambles, both in time and resources, and the fact that you're not getting extra advantage off it. It is a one-time use. So, it's always going to be scary like that. For the extra deck, because the extra deck is very loose right now, and I am a bad deck builder. 2 copies of Eldlich, the Mad Golden Lord. You're not summoning this. Not currently. You can supplement this for literally anything. I already have everything I need for this deck right now. 1 Garua and 1 Elder Entity Natis. Pretty straightforward. This is Punishment and Slayer targets or whatever someone is Maximus. They come in handy. They're goated. They speak for themselves. 1 Chaos Angel. I made this 1 game, and it won me the game because I was able to push for an exorbitant amount of damage and deal with the Druid Swarm on the field. So I was able to get revenge after they banished my Eldlich. One of this. You don't really need the other form. And I beat the Blue Eyes player in the final round with this card. Because he made a board where I couldn't out anything, so I had to go with this. It's degenerate, but I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do, and it is an option, and it's also good for time, because you like to nike yourself quite a bit. Rouges almost came up, but my opponent scooped before I could make it, but you still play it because it's an Omni Negate. And then, of course, Typhon. Typhon will come in certain situations. Again, this is just a really more of another fluff card, but now for like a lot more of the important cards. 2 Link Spider. You're going to be linking a lot, especially come later with the deck. Currently, this is just a really great way to get the traps off the board. I can't believe I didn't use this years ago. 1 Ghost Mary. You just play this in these circumstances where you have to get your Eldlich back, even though I'm playing 3, so it's currently fluff, but it can come up. 1 Silhouette Rabbit, way to see engine card's great, especially with the 1.52 card combo. I play also SP Little Knight, just because it's SP Little Knight. Luna, I've never summoned her, I've never even thought about it, but it is just something there. And of course, this, because you can use this as a really high target from punishment to basically just send your Garura and draw 1 card off it. So that's that for the extra deck. For the side deck, I just have 2 tokens that for Delta of Invitation and a poor Nibiru, the Primal Being token for all funny shenanigans. I actually found my tokens today, which is why I brought them. So now the MVP card. Chaos Hunter. This card is insane. And I didn't even realize just how much utility this card actually has with grind games and setting up your deck, which is just great. It prevents so many types of removal from actually being able to resolve. Being able to send a Golden Land or an Elixir card or even Eldlich to the grave and be able to do this. Yes, it's a gamble because Talents becomes live and thrust and Imperm is still a thing, but if they can't stop this, it's wonderful. And, it gets to deal with Malice. So I'm more than okay with it. I might actually bump this up to 3. I prefer this over Lancia. Lancia has its own specific uses as well. And the only other non-hand trap or board breaker is the 2 Lava Golem. Just generic and just, for those boards that like to put up more than 1 monster, helps you be able to play the game. I still yet to find a perfect balance for the deck being able to go first and second, but I don't really think there is, and that's kind of my current conclusion. 2 copies of Artifact Lancia. I want to see it, but I really don't want to brick on it. And I was playing the Chaos Hunter. Believe it or not, today there wasn't too much Malice. My last match was, but yeah, I'm so glad I had these for it, because boy, did they come in handy. 3 copies of Nibiru, the Primal Being. So my line of thinking for something like Nibiru is this deck is not known for hand traps, which means your opponent is going to do everything they can to make certain specific lines happen. And Nibiru is basically, I'm going to break your board. This is more of a budget option because a Mocharmy card is frankly better than this in most circumstances. But Nibiru, there was at least 1 game where I nibbed someone because they chose a very greedy line because they didn't think I would interrupt because I didn't do it in game 1. And they saw I was playing Eldlich, so it costed them the game. Just that kind of mentality. And I only own 1 Perilia, but a friend of mine loaned me 2 for the time being again. So thank you for that. And so yeah, 3 Perilia. Deck's insane. Really wanted to go off the OCG mentality because I think it's correct for Eldlich. These cards are really great and they solve a few issues, and drawing cards is actually really beneficial for this deck. And slowing your opponent down kinda is that as well. And then for the final and the most performing card of the day, Ultimate Slayer. This card is so insane. So before locals, we had we went out to lunch. We were helping a friend of ours, build a Blue Eyes deck. And I said I think Ultimate Slayer should be used because I think the card is just generic and it helps deal with Raziel. And he goes, but that means he would have to play the bad Blue Eyes Xyz. And I'm like, yes, but there is a cuttable card in that. And with it, you're already playing Thrust, which means he has basically 2 copies of this. And this card can just, once again, he has Synchro, he has Link, and he could have Xyz, and he pretty much has everything. Oh, and he has Fusion, so he could have everything covered. And Ultimate Slayer is very hard to deal with, and it can break boards. And in my game, my very last game, Terahertz hit the field, but was not able to swing because it was turn 1. So I had Chaos Hunter, I top deck Ultimate Slayer, and I won the game because of it. He had a bunch of negates ready to go once the Chaos Hunter left the field. Eldlich would have not been able to do anything. But once it left, I won the game. Both with Chaos Hunter and Ultimate Slayer. This card is actually ridiculous. And paired with something like Gordian, the new board breaker coming out on Alliance Insight. Yeah, Alliance Insight has quite a bit for this deck. It's unbelievable how good it is. So, yes, Slayer, by far the most performing card and the best card in this entire side deck. I am going to make an adjustment so I can put the new Fool Waltz that I pulled and into it. But, yes, this is my Eldlich deck profile. I can't say 100% that I was the most ecstatic with the performance of it. Obviously, it's Rogue, so it's going to be very uphill. It's going to be very stressful, especially going against the tough matches that I went against today. Every single one of them was difficult. My only loss was to a Fire King variant, but otherwise, somehow, through it all, I was able, after weeks of going X1, X2, I was finally able to get first place. And yeah, it's just a really nice feeling. And I can't wait to see what this deck and the possible potential that it can have. I think Eldlich will be eating really good this year. I can't wait to actually do those combo lines where you're actually ending on 3 back row and you have the trap to set stuff, because there were so many times today, because I've done so much post testing where I'll banish Conk and I want to set Exalt. Oh, I can't. I set Exalted, and Exalted would have come up either way. So yes, it's just nice. It was just really good. There's still a few adjustments that I can make for this deck. I try to be open minded and see what I can improve with, and scenes that I don't. But yeah, this is my first place. I hope you all enjoyed and didn't mind the random tangents. But yeah, Eldlich is possibly back, and I'm excited to see what it has to offer.